Good day and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I am Alim from Basic Math 3A. My topic talks about the backwards method. What does it mean? The backwards method is defined by a focus on the customer need. Instead of starting with the technology, this means beginning with the benefits of the technology for the customers and the problem it will solve in their lives. Working backwards is a solving process that can be used in word problems by starting at the end of the problem and undoing the problem one step at a time.
There are many different ways to solve word problems, so it is useful to know when working backwards is a good way to go. A helpful tactic to solve word problems is to work backwards by starting with the final step and working backwards to learn where to start. Just for example, suppose Dan is handing out candy. He gives Susan 8 pieces, but she says she doesn't need that many, so she gives him 3 pieces back. He gives Mandy 7 pieces, and lastly, he gives James 5 pieces. After doing this, Dan has 4 pieces left for himself. So based on all the information, can you tell me how many pieces of candy Dan started out with? There are a number of ways to go about this problem, but we're going to talk about one solving process in particular, and that is working backwards. To solve the problem by working backwards, we basically want to undo the problem step by step. We start at the end of the problem and work through to the beginning. So let us solve our candy example. We want to know how many pieces of candy I started out with. Like we said, to work backwards to solve, we start at the end of the problem and undo it one step at a time. So at the end of the problem, Dan had 4 pieces of candy left from himself. So this is where we'll start. Right before Dan had 4 pieces left, he gave James 5 pieces. To undo this, we add 5 pieces to the 4 Dan has left. And 4 plus 5 is equal to 9. So now Dan has 9 pieces of candy. The next thing to undo is giving Mandy 7 pieces. To do this, we add 7 pieces to my Dan's 9 pieces. And 7 plus 9 is equal to 16. So Dan has 16 pieces of candy. Before this, Dan gives Susan 8 pieces of candy, but she gives him 3 pieces back, making this one is a little trickier to undo. Since 8 minus 3 is equals to 5, this means Dan gives Susan 5 pieces of candy in all. Thus, to undo this step, we add 5 pieces of candy to Dan's running total, giving him 16 plus 5 is equals to 21. Thus tell us that Dan had 21 pieces of candy to start with. Now, when to use working backwards? As I said, there are multiple ways to go about solving word problems, so it is useful to know when the process of working backwards is the best solving option. There are certain characteristics of word problems that indicate working backwards should be used to solve the problem. The first of these characteristics is that the end of the problem will have a result that is very clear, whereas the beginning of the problem will be less obvious. Consider our candy example. At the beginning of the problem, it jumps right into Dan handing out candy. It doesn't specify how much candy Dan has to hand out. However, at the end of the problem, it clearly states Dan had 4 pieces left over for himself. This is a good indication that working backwards is a good process to use. So every time you meet word problems, take it easy. So that's the end of our video. Thank you for watching.